Much. Hello, everyone. Are you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? Ready to do it? I have to tell you, Les, I don't think I've heard you sing in well over 10 years. Well, I was sleeping or something, I'm sure. But he has been around for a very long time. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's great. Okay, we are talking about, guess what? Joy. Shall I be joyous today? Do you want to be? Some days, yes. Some days, not so very much. Some days it's a little harder, isn't it? But the question is, are we looking for something that will make us joyful, joyous, bring joy to us, or do we want to be that ourselves? See, that you just got the whole message of Science of Mind right there. Because that's what we want. We want to be the thing itself, rather than just have pieces of it put on us like we're, toast with jam on us. And once we get the right jam on us, then we'll enjoy the toast. No, it's about being the toast. It's about being the jam. It's about being the joy itself. You can go home now. You learned all there is to know about Science of Mind. All right? But it's hard to do. It's hard to do. To be in that presence. To be happy. To believe and be that you are successful. To be in partnership with someone that you're trying really hard to be nice to. If we're trying really hard, we're not being in that partnership. We're working on our own issue about the partnership. Okay? So these are the kinds of things that we want to give consideration to when we're saying, I want some joy in my life today. A couple of years ago, I was busy. I had a lot of things going on, and life wasn't as fluffy as it usually is. And so I said to myself, there's nothing really wrong, but I'm just not having any joy. I'm not feeling any joy. I'm not having any fun at all. So I said, well, Kathryn, what would fun look like? And the first thing that popped into my mind was, fun is something that requires no follow-up. How many of you have tasks that once you start them, you have to keep doing them and doing them and doing them? And then sometimes you just walk out and you look at the sunset and it's sufficient and you don't have to do anything about it. You don't even have to take a picture of it and put it on Facebook. That's what we're talking about, is being that something itself and being it totally and completely here in this moment, rather than dragging it around as an effort that we have to create over and over and over for the world. One of our members, her father's a little pixie guy, and he was at a grocery store coming through the line, and it was very clear that the checkout person was having a difficult day. And she was just gruff with people and short and not cooperative when they had a problem. And he's observing this whole thing. And he gets up there and he's smiling and he's happy to her and he says hello and he's, lovely day, isn't it? And she's grumble, grumble, grumble. And when he gets ready to leave, she says, is there anything else? And he said, well, I would ask you to have a nice day, but I see you have other plans. It was so clear that she couldn't get there, and everybody else was going to suffer as a result. So that's what we're talking about today, being that essence. All right, Joe, could we see that first part there? Ernest Holmes tells us on page 168 in the textbook, the greatest good which our mind is able to conceive should be affirmed as part of our everyday experience. So the question is, what did we affirm when we got up this morning as the part of our everyday experience? Oh God, I hope I get there on time. I wonder if I'm going to have to wind up cleaning up the kitchen at my brother's potluck this afternoon. We have all these things that come into our minds, and that's how we set the course of our lives. based upon what it is that we are putting in motion is what our experience is. So Holmes says to have that be the dedication that we make for ourselves right at the beginning, the greatest good that we are able to conceive should be the very first thing that we say when we get up in the morning. The classic one is we say, instead of good morning, God, we say, good God, it's morning. So many of us are in the habit of that. And the practice, the daily application of science of mind is doing the opposite. It's living in that affirmative lifestyle. It's us telling the universe how it's going to be for us. You know, and the song Les did, and he changed the words there. And he says, I set it all up for you. I gave you joy every single day, all over the place. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? So that's our big challenge, because we lay out our agendas, we set out our work schedule, we have travel itineraries that we pay attention to, we schedule our bills, we schedule when we're going to go for entertainment with a friend. We coordinate things all over the place, but we don't set our day to be happy. Anybody guilty of that? I'm sure nobody here. Okay, good. Whew. All right. So here's the trick. Here's the trick that we want to do. We want to come to that place in our awareness where we feel, understand, know, and believe that we have the right and the privilege and the obligation, as Holmes says. The right, the privilege, the obligation to set this world in motion the way we want to experience it. Each and every one of us not only has that assignment, but we have the power to do that. And that's the hardest part of all. A lot of us have been disempowered in various lifetime situations. You know, your parents say, who do you think you are? What makes you think you can do that? No, we can't take you. You don't fit this job. And we get a lot of things told to us that say that we're not capable, we're not ready, and so on. And so we spend a lot of our lives trying to overcome that. Well, then as we're spending our time trying to overcome the problem, what are we doing? We're spending more time in the problem. We're trying to fix the problem instead of teaching ourselves to be in that place where there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to fix. Now, we have glimmers of that. We have opportunities of saying, oh, yeah, this is the way life is supposed to be. I like this part a lot. But the slide back into the difficulties is too easy. And sometimes it seems to come too frequently. Just when I think I get my head straight, something blows up. That's the practice that we do, though, is when we realize that that is what has happened to us, that we have slipped back into an old pattern, that we have missed the mark, if you will, is to just acknowledge that we have, and then gently, effortlessly move back into it. That's all this teaching is, the constant being aware and gently moving back into alignment with the good that we absolutely know is true for us, and it's true for everyone else. How many of you live your lives as wishing and hoping? You could have sung that song this morning. You know, wishing and hoping and singing. Right? Okay, I won't sing. But it's for each of us to make that decision. Now, sometimes we're totally and completely on the mark and we really think that we're doing good stuff, and something bad happens anyway. Something bad happens anyway. This is one of the hardest lessons of metaphysics and New Thought. To realize that something bad happens anyway is to realize that we're creating that cycle by acknowledging this thing called good and called bad. Someone once told me that the final judgment, you know, the one that we were all afraid of when we were kids, it isn't when God says you made it or you didn't. The final judgment is when we judge each other and our lives for the very last time. For the very last time. When we stop saying, this is good and this is bad. This makes me happy, this doesn't. That's right, that's wrong. You're good, you're bad. It's that duality that we perpetuate by us not being able and not being willing in some cases to stay with the one, as Ernest Holmes says, to stay in that place of awakening, of awareness, of clarity. It's not easy, I'm telling you, it's not. I'm sure you know that, so I'm affirming for you. And do it anyway. Do it anyway. And it doesn't matter if the whole world thinks you're wonderful. Do it anyway. It doesn't matter if you see the results immediately every single time. Do it anyway. Ernest Holmes said when he was dedicating our El Monte Church in Southern California, and he said, our job here in this place is to know the truth, to practice the truth, to live the truth, to own the truth, to be with it constantly, continuously, no matter what. And he said it's not about changing the world. It's not about us being known for what we do. He says the important thing is that in this place we are doing the work so fully and so completely that people will drive by this building and they will not even know that we're in here nor what we're doing, and they will be healed anyway. That's the power of this, the knowing the truth. It isn't about changing conditions. Yes, we can heal the sick and even raise the dead and all those other things that everybody tries to do. But the bigger awareness is when we come to that place of understanding that when we simply own it for ourselves, it exuberates from within us, whether we're trying to make a difference or not. Whether we're trying to make a difference or not. But we have to be doing our own work all the time. All the time. And then it's really easy to beat ourselves up, of course, because I'm not doing the work very well, or this and this and this would happen. Well, is that the problem, or is the problem that I'm judging that what's happening isn't what I want and it shouldn't be that way? Tricky. Little bit tricky, because our whole orientation, our cultural dynamic is to find the problem and fix it. Anybody do that in your workplace? Anybody do that with your children? Son-in-law, spouse, partner, whatever. We want to fix things. It's so hard for us to accept that there's nothing to fix. That everything that's laid out before us is the perfection, is the wholeness. It is the peace, it is the joy, it is the love, it is the laughter. This too is God. This too is God, is what is so often said in metaphysics. Understanding that and living from that place is the big challenge. That's the big challenge. All right. So how many of you want to fix something in your life? Yep. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You know, I want to fix my finances. I want to fix my partner. I want to fix the neighbor next door. We call that tithing them back to the community and sending them on their way. Whatever it is, it can't possibly be a problem unless I perceive it as such. Gee, that sounds like it started here. It can't possibly be corrected unless I accept that it has a right to be there, which I think starts in me. And we spend all of this time talking about changing the world, changing all the dynamics. Our organization talks about a world that works for everyone. Did you know that it is working for everyone, as Holmes says, just the way you work it? Wonderful thing in the textbook. bottom left-hand page. And it says, the law of cause and effect works perfectly. Every time. Just the way we work it. And so, if we think it doesn't work, it will work perfectly by appearing to not work. That just tears me up every time. Well, it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's working. I want the law to work in my behalf. Well, it always does. It doesn't work against me. So if what's happening is something I don't like, it doesn't mean that the law isn't working for me. Crazy making in the middle of the night? No. Absolute total joy making in the middle of the afternoon when you go, oh, yeah, I get it. I get it. I did it again. That's what this is all about. So, we have those people in our lives that we want to be joyful with, we want to be joyful about, we want them to be joyful. Come on, can't you perk it up a little bit, that sort of thing. And yet, at the same time, we have all this work to do inside of us. And then we get, we get so inspired, we get so excited, and we take that training program, and we read that book, and we hear a speaker, and everything gets wild and exciting all over again, and yes, this is great, I'm so happy, and why isn't it working right now? We can get ourselves pumped up, but there's a lot more to it than that. Joe, would you give me the next one? Because we have what we call dream robbers. You have a bright idea and somebody tells you 85 ways it won't work. Yeah, okay. But we also do that within ourselves. And so everything, this is what Holmes says, everything necessary to fulfill the complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine right now. Everything. Talk to me. Say this with me. Everything necessary to the full and complete expression of the most boundless experience of joy is mine right now. Can you own that just a little bit? And the last three words are the biggest part of all. They're already mine. Now, I may not see it with my eyes, feel it with my heart, understand it with my intellect, but they are mine. That's what we're talking about here week after week. We own the joy. We own the progress. We own the resolution. But if we're spending all of our time working on the problem, that's all we're going to see, isn't it? That's all we're going to see. And people say, what are you so happy about? And they say, you'll be singing a different tune when the other shoe drops. It's difficult to maintain that idea of everything's good and everything's going to work out for us. It's like when Jesus was at the tomb of Lazarus and he stood there. And what was the first thing he said? Father, I thank thee. For I know thou hearest me always. That's a pretty good place to start. I know this stuff works. I am so grateful for the outcome even before I've seen it. And then the bold declaration, Lazarus, get out here. He didn't beg and plead. He didn't say, hey, don't show me up in front of these people. They're going to laugh if you don't step out. So, come on, boy, help me out here. No, we don't do that. We say, I know this works. I'm declaring that it works. Make it so, number one, right now. Make it so, number one. Let that be the truth. Let that be the place in me where it shows up, right here, right now. But the only way that we can do that is if we continue to build it inside of ourselves so that it's the only thing that does pour out. It's the only thing that does pour out. Dr. Peggy Bassett used to say, that I don't know what's in me until I see what spills out when I'm jostled. What am I filled with? My first reaction is what I'm filled with. So that's what I am doing constantly in this place of building joy, of building that awakening, of coming to that greater understanding inside me every single moment. All is well and divine order prevails. How many of you have a little 3-4 word thing that you use to snap yourself to center when you get a little wonky? Oh, make one. Make one. You know, divine love in me celebrates everything that I am, everything that I do. Or I sometimes just rely on all is well. And what that's saying to me is, I don't understand what just happened. I didn't like those results. I'm not sure I can stand up to this. All of those things might be true in my physical human experience, but what I know at my gut and my soul is all is well. And to carry that with you everywhere you go. Say it 100 times a day if you need to. Apply it to the application of situations where it needs to be done. But own it, live with it, believe it, accept it, and let it be the truth of who you are. How many of you know about something called Seisho Noe? Gotcha. Seisho Noe is the Japanese New Thought movement that began totally separate from our New Thought movement. And the founder and Fenwick Holmes, Ernest's brother, were very close friends, and Fenwick spent time in Japan with them. And they have centers all over the world, hundreds of thousands of people. And their little catchphrase is, "Oh, infinite joy, come bubbling forth." Do that with me. Oh, infinite joy, come bubbling forth. You know those times when you just want to go, ah! And instead of doing that, instead of screaming, instead of hanging on, instead of fighting, acknowledge a truth that you're really clear about. That's what brings the joy back. That's what re-stimulates that feeling of, what am I here to do? What am I here to do? My purpose is to have fun. And I do as much as I can that requires no follow-up. Unfortunately, I create work for myself. Anybody else do that? Yeah. And so I ask myself, is this producing joy for me? Is the infinite joy bubbling forth from me? Is it bubbling forth from this situation? Does this situation that I'm in right now make my heart sing? Make my heart sing. Some people don't like the sound of my voice singing, but I love my heart singing. It's a really nice sound. I wish you could hear it. And yours as well. Yours as well. This whole activity of being mindful of our lives. What is it that we want? What is it that we're trying to do? And are we happy in it? Because we have a right to be. Why do we have a right to be? Because we already are happiness. We are the thing itself. We are the thing itself. And so when we do our affirmations and we say, I am wholeness, I am peace, I am joy, all of those I ams are absolutely true. I'm teaching the foundation class right now, and we were talking about the qualities of God. Joy is a quality of God. Happiness is a quality of God. I am that because I am part of what God is. And when I was in my initial training, first and second year, I really hated this one gal in the class because she would just so sweet talk God, trying to get what she wanted. And it sounded like, oh God, you're such a honey baby, you're sweet, you're wonderful, I know you'll do anything I want. And it was just making me gag, I have to tell you. And I went to Ventura Papke, who was the teacher of practitioners, and I said, I can't do that first step. I can't say, God, sweetie, honey, baby. I just can't. And so I told her my problem with my classmate, and she said, well, dear, as she always did, she says, dear, don't you understand? Because the more qualities you can speak of God, understanding that that's what it is, the bigger your God gets. Because there's nothing you can say to God or about God that is going to make God do anything for you. So there's no sweet talking involved. You're simply telling your own consciousness about the magnitude of what it is we're working with. The magnitude of what we're working with. So later on in that class year, we were in a session where we were saying qualities of God. You know, I am peace, I am love, I am joy, and so on. And there I was, sitting in front of my friend who was saying all this la-di-da stuff, and it's like, nobody's that, you know, come on. But I listened to what Ventura told me, and I shifted gears, and I heard my friend June say, I am snow. And I stopped, and I knew in that instant that that woman was snow. All that it is, all that it was meant to be, all the components of it. She owned that so completely that I saw it in her. Not that I believed her, but I saw it in her. And so we may think that I'm not snow, you know. As one friend says, I'm a hot mess. I couldn't be snow. But all of those attributes of spirit and the things that exist in our world, I am fresh air. I am the beautiful sunset. I am the clean, clear sky. I am the cooperative traveling on the freeway. Do you understand what cooperation that takes? Any of you dance? Do ballroom dancing and you got to follow somebody or lead, as the case may be. And to realize that that's a magic thing that's happening, that people are so in agreement that they're not going to bang their cars together driving down those skinny lanes 10, 15 inches from each other in some cases. So every time we look at what's happening in our world and we say, I am that measure of cooperation. I am the peace that I desire. I am the abundance. We always go with the abundance. I am abundance. Be it. Own it. Live it. Drink it in, every single piece of it. And at the end of the day, be able to say, oh, infinite joy, come bubbling forth. I get it now. I get it. I get it. Ernest Holmes also says a wonderful thing in the textbook. You probably heard this part before. Be still and know that I am God. I am the principle of peace within me. My mind is poised in peace and beauty, attributes. It isn't, I'm going to go save the world. It's, I am these things. All sense of fear and doubt is now gone, and I rest in calm trust and rely on the law of spirit to bring the good into my experience. I contend with none, argue with none, and I am filled with wonderful peace and light. There's no uncertainty about my future and no fear as a result of my past. I live in an eternal now which is filled with good alone. Goodness and beauty follow me. Peace and joy accompany me. Happiness and wholeness fill my entire being with the realization of love and perfection. This inner mind of mine is right now divine and complete. I look back over all previous experiences and find that it was good and very, very good. I look toward to the future and find that it is good and very, very good. And then I look at the present and find that it is also good and very, very good, because God is in all, over all, and through all. And I am that. That's what this teaching is about. Coming to the place of full ownership so that that joy bubbles forth from us. And then we can say, I am the spirit of confidence. I am poised in love and reason. I am the perfect law of truth and the complete presence of beauty right here, right now. And I am snow. And I am joy. And I am wholeness. And I am beauty. And I am a greater capacity for all of these things as well. Welcome to Science of Mind. Real easy, isn't it? Every single day, every single moment. All right. So what are we going to do with all this? What are the principles that we're going to apply here to this? And that's all nice and pretty stuff. But here's how it works. First, decide to be happy. My nephew Christopher went through a lot of the drug years, and he's a magnificent being today. And I said to him one time, Chris, you went through some stuff, and what brought you back? And he says, one day I just decided to be happy. And he truly is one of the happiest people, not just giddy or anything like that. He's just happy, content. And when he's one of those that when he hugs you, he's about this tall. When he hugs you, it's both arms all the way around all of you, and you feel totally encompassed by the universe. I like that as happy. We're also wanting to notice the things that make our heart sing. What does make your heart sing? What makes my heart sing is to not have to do something over again, to not have to follow up on it. That's fun. That's excitement. That makes me feel like I've accomplished something. I'm finally done with that. It makes my heart sing. My little great niece and her squints and her giggles and everything about her make my heart sing. What makes your heart sing? Here's the hard one. Some of you have heard that there's nothing I have ever let go of that didn't have claw marks on it. Okay? So being willing to let go, whatever it is, whoever did it, whatever it cost, no matter how old it is, and no matter if it appears still unsolved, let it go. Let it go. Decide to be happy is the first. Decide to be joyful. Decide to be prosperous. Decide to be well. Decide to be at peace. That is the very first step of all of it. And begin to see what really does sing in your heart. Causes joy. Makes you what you consider to be a better person, whatever that may be. There was a song I heard many years ago, and I have lost the artist and the music, unfortunately, but the words stayed forever. And she said, "Go easy on yourself, my friend. I know you're trying so damn hard to make it work, to make amends, but the letting go is the hardest part." Says, I don't want to lose you. I don't want to see you drowning in a sea of misery, because the letting go is the hardest part. Let's do some prayer work about that for a moment. Take a nice, deep, even breath, the fullness of spirit, the Om energy pouring in and cresting in our upper breath as our ownership of it, and then the exhale as the releasing of it into the cosmos. The spirit of the truth of the wholeness of the universe lives in me now, today. Always has, always will. No place for it to go, because the universe is everything and I am part of that. And so here, and now, today. I lay claim to my inheritance. I lay claim to the reality that all is well. All is in divine order. Infinite joy bubbles forth from me. Infinite joy bubbles forth as me. Because there is nothing else that I can be but the full and dynamic expression of the divine, uniquely expressed as me. What decision shall I make today of how that will express? I choose peace. I choose happiness. I choose joy. I choose the wonder and the dynamic understanding of the goodness of life that is in every cell of my being right here, right now. It's in every particle of energy, every tissue of my body, here, now. There's nowhere I need to go get it. I just get to draw it into me in a greater awareness than I have ever had before. This is the day that we get to choose. Shall I be joyous today? Shall I be joyous for the rest of my life? Shall I embrace the beauty and the joy and the wonder of spirit that I was born to be, placed here to be, and am even now, amidst any doubts or confusion, I am totally prepared to be. And profound gratitude for that understanding, that illumination, and that willingness. I release this treatment because I know it's already done. And I accept the continuous flow of joy in my life. So it is.